for most ghostwriters too, they just want to make like 6 figures or 200K a year, 300K a year. It's like you can do that in 1 to 2 years of like good execution with one like small pocket niche. You should try to stack as much proof as humanly possible, and then you'll be able to raise your prices, and then the money will come much more naturally. But most beginners are trying to get money before they have proof, and I think that's the problem.
For today's episode, I am joined by Taylin John Simmonds, who's an ex-teacher turned ghostwriter, and he's the founder of Ghostly, a very successful ghostwriting agency. Taylin, great to have you here today, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude. Looking forward to this.
So with your ghostwriting agency, you're now doing, I believe, about like 40K a month I saw on your X. But take us back all the way to the very beginning. How did you like make your first dollar as an online writer? And what did making that first dollar or first sale do for you?
Yeah, so back when I was a college teacher, I wanted a way to work remotely and to raise my income potential. Like, unlike some people who are like, I really hate my job, I want to leave, like this is the worst thing ever. I didn't quite like hate my job. Like, I didn't mind teaching, but it wasn't challenging me anymore. And I hadn't traveled much. I didn't have a whole lot of freedom. It was getting kind of monotonous after 6 years of doing it. And I just wanted a way to work remotely and to have a little bit more freedom, you know, to taste that stuff that, you know, people want to taste when they're in their 9 to 5. They want more freedom, basically. And everywhere I looked, I was like, okay, I don't know if there's a real way to get it. You know, do I just do Amazon FBA? Is that even like still a thing? Do I get into like trading Forex? Like, I don't know, like Forex trading. And then I eventually stumbled into ghostwriting when I was on Twitter, and people were like, yeah, I'm charging like $3,000 per month for a client US, and I'm in Canada. So that's like $1 million Canadian with the conversion rate. So I was like, okay, this seems legit, like something that could actually work and could be stable. And I won't just be able to leave my job, but I won't have to go back to it. So I wrote for free for another ghostwriter for, I can't even remember now. It was like 3 to 6 months or something. It was a long time. And then I launched my own offer with the help of Dakota Robertson. And my first client ended up paying me $3,000 per month US, which was crazy. Because at the time as a college teacher, I only made $3,000 a month Canadian after tax. So getting like one client was paying me more than my monthly wage, even accounting for like my monthly expenses and the conversion rate for taxes and stuff like that. I was like, damn, I just need one client and I can live. That was like huge and totally mind bending. But that was how I ended up getting my first client and getting into ghostwriting, was working for free for quite a while, launching my own offer, and then getting my own clients.
Yeah, so you mentioned you worked for free for 3 to 6 months for this client. Was that something you expected beforehand, or how did that come to happen? Did you just approach this client and say, hey, I'm going to do this for you, and, you know, like no risks, I will work for free, and then if you're happy with the results, you know, we can work from there? Or how did that go?
When I was trying to get into ghostwriting, I just realized like I didn't have any experience. I didn't know what the heck was going on in terms of working with clients, getting leads. I was very, very fresh to online business in that way. And I was just really hungry to make it work, and any experience and anything that could just like kind of give me some signal as to how to do this was all I wanted. So back in the day when I was buying retweets on Twitter to grow my account, one of the guys that I was buying them from, he said he was a ghostwriter. I remember I said, can I work for you for free? I just want experience. Like I'm just hungry. I just need to like get into this somehow and know that it's possible. And he's like, no, absolutely not. Because, you know, it sounds good. Like, hey, I'll work for you for free. But it's like, well, the other person's got to train you. They're taking a risk on you. Like, it's a huge thing. So he's like, no, you can't. And I was like, come on, man. Like, please just give me a shot. Just give me like any assignment and I will do it. And he's like, okay, well, can you write this one thread for me and have it for me in the next like 2-3 hours? I was like, done. And I quickly whipped it up and sent it to him. And he's like, oh, this is actually like pretty good.
This guy's legit.
Yeah. He's like, this is pretty decent, actually. Can you do another one? I was like, yeah, sure. And then it ended up me writing, I think, 2 Twitter threads a day for the most part for like months. It was a lot of volume. Like, it was way more volume than I was doing at the time for myself, more than I was comfortable with. But that was how I got into it, was just being persistent and asking other ghostwriters, like if I could write for them.
So after that first client, right, you mentioned you were making 3K a month, and I can imagine with the extra freedom you had, or at least dictating your own schedule in that sense, having more freedom than maybe in your previous job, that was all amazing, right? But how did you go to the next level? How did you go from that one client to scaling your business now actually to what is it, like 40K a month at this moment, I believe?
Yeah, so it's different what I do now than what I did back then. Back then, I really had no idea what I was doing. I was just rolling with the punches. But so I didn't actually quit my job until 6 months after I landed my first client, even though I could have. Because I was such a fresh entrepreneur, I had never been responsible for making my own income without having a boss before. I was very, very risk averse to quitting. So, I didn't know. I was like, is this stable? Is ghostwriting going to work long term, or is it just a bubble? Maybe this opportunity doesn't exist. Like maybe Twitter gets really hard and I can't get clients there. Then what am I going to do? There's a lot of things I was considering. So I took the next 6 months, and while I was working full time, I was just bringing on more clients. And I brought on a co-founder who was my best friend from high school. I met him at a Starbucks one day and was like, "Hey, do you want to like write with me on Twitter for people?" And he's like, "Is that even real? Like, is that a thing?" I was
Is it
like,
legal?
"Yeah, is this legal?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was in college at the time, and he was working for Pepsi. And I remember he did it for like a little bit, and he's like, "Oh, this is real." And then he dropped out of college and quit Pepsi to ghostwrite on Twitter, which we still laugh about to this day because it just sounds so ludicrous. But just the two of us, we were just like taking on more clients, bringing writers onto the team so that other people were doing the writing while I was working at my day job. And that was essentially how we did a very messy scale in the beginning. And we ended up getting to that 40K per month, even back then. I think we got to that in like 4 months from when I landed that first client.
Wow, that's very impressive.
Yeah, thank you. It was a very hectic time. There was tons of market demand. There was very few people ghostwriting. I had referrals coming in from friends, and it was just like it was crazy. Like I would literally sign a client, and the next day it's like here's another one, like here's another one, and there was so many. We were just like hungry. Like okay, let's just take them all. And it was the messiest scale ever. It actually made me kind of like depressed. As crazy as it sounds, like there's all these clients coming in and everything, and we're making like 40K per month, which is more than I was even making per year as a college teacher. I was making more per month. But like we didn't know how to handle the volume. We were still learning ghostwriting. Some of the niches that we were writing for was like SEO. We had no experience in SEO, and keep in mind this is before AI. Like AI didn't exist back then. You just do all the research manually, managing a team of writers without systems while I was still doing 40 hours a week at a job. Like it was kind of depressing, actually. Like we were so overworked and so stressed and so frantic, reacting to everything. It was a lot. So there's the highs and the lows of that, and I still look back at it with rose-colored glasses a little bit, but it definitely wasn't just like rainbows and sunshine.
Based on that experience of you scaling your business, but then, feeling overworked and actually not enjoying it, nowadays, have you designed your business in a different way so it is more enjoyable?
Oh yeah, 100%. Learn my lesson from that. Yeah, when there's like I would say if you're working in the business, that is a problem if you're trying to get to like a system of scale. Like you don't want to really be working on the business, I would say, or not in the business, but on the business, or whatever the saying is.
Yeah.
So like back then I was doing quite a bit of writing for clients and things like that. And nowadays I actually don't do any ghostwriting for clients. Like I just write my own content, and we have systems in place for onboarding. We have sales scripts. We have like AI prompts for writing for different niches. We have strategy briefs for different niches. Everything that can be systemized, I just try to systemize now. So to me, that's my job as one of the co-founders of the company. Is I should not be working with clients. I should be doing whatever drives revenue, which is like bringing in new customers and testing new acquisition channels and making sure the acquisition channels work to consistently have leads for the team, and making sure that everything is systemized so that it runs with the least amount of people and the highest level of efficiency to get results as possible. And that is something I didn't think about back when I first got into business. I'm
Mhm.
just like, I'm a writer. That's what we do. We write all the time. And it's funny that now my skill set is different. It's like I'm not supposed to be writing while I'm in the business, but it took me a long time to learn that. It wasn't like a quick thing. It was, I just slowly drink the Kool-Aid of applying leverage to the business over time.
That's
Yeah.
the beauty of entrepreneurship. You live and you learn, and you make mistakes or experience certain things, and based on that you iterate, right? That's what I love about having a business. It's a constant experiment, constant iteration until you get to a version that you're happy with and it's profitable. Now, Taylin, you actually mentioned, right, that within 4 months you went from that one client to scaling the business or reaching 40K a month. What do you think you and your business partner were doing particularly well that so many clients were kind of like approaching you and wanted to work with you straight away? Because for most, I would say maybe ghostwriters or entrepreneurs, the problem is getting clients, right? That's the struggle. For you guys, it seemed like you were really attracting clients.
Yeah, the answer to this is probably not what most people will expect, because most people would just be like, oh, well, I was crushing this acquisition channel. I was writing great content. The reality of it in hindsight is that it was just a very blue ocean opportunity. So the market had low sophistication. I can only really think of 3 or 4 other ghostwriters at the time who were really serious and had some form of presence on Twitter. And it was like everyone wanted to grow on Twitter back then. Like you could literally just write a post like, I'm a ghostwriter making this much money, and people would just be like, I need a ghostwriter. It was crazy. It was like the sales calls weren't even sales calls. It was just like, hey, what's up? I'm a ghostwriter. They're like, okay, cool. Can you grow my account? I'm like, yeah. They're like, all right, what's your price? Oh, it's 3K per month, 4K per month. They're like, okay, cool. Send the invoice. Like it was literally like that. I couldn't even, like in hindsight, I couldn't even believe how crazy it was and how blue ocean it was. There's so much demand and so little supply of ghostwriters. So I would say that that was a lot of it. Is the timing was just luck. Like it's not like I timed this on purpose. I just happened to get into it at a wicked time. The timing was just really, really good. And nowadays it is a little bit harder to get clients. There's still a lot out there, and I would say that it's still a very blue ocean opportunity on the platforms because not very many people know about ghostwriting. Not very many people are good at writing content consistently on socials and adapting to how social platforms change. Like it is a difficult skill set. I'm not going to make it sound like it's the easiest thing in the world because it's definitely not in my experience. So it's still not the most competitive market ever, but it is different than what it used to be like 2 or 3 years ago, where it was like insane.
If someone right now is looking to get started with ghostwriting and they're completely new to it, what would you recommend? What approach they would take?
My advice would be the same for ghostwriting or any business. Is just that I believe you just need to become your own case study. That's step one, like the self case study. Can you prove that you can get results for yourself? So as a ghostwriter, can you even grow your own account? Like the amount of people that ask me like, hey, I'm really struggling to get my first client. How do I do it? I'm like, you have 50 followers, have never had a post do well. Like you're not, it's not going to work. It'd be like going to a doctor and being like, hey, I need brain surgery because I have the craziest cancer in the world. And they're like, well, I'm not a cancer doctor and I don't do brain surgery, but I'll give it a try. And you'd be like, hell no, that's crazy. Like, yeah, sure. The stakes are higher in that exaggerated example, but it is like kind of the same thing. So you got to become a self case study, prove you can do it for yourself and that you have skills. So it's always skill acquisition in the beginning. Once you have the skills, it's just a proof game. Like I think about it as there's either like credentials for an industry, something like being a psychologist, you need a credential, right? Or you need, credit for work that you do, which would be like, oh, I've ghost wrote for myself. I've ghost written for these other clients. Here's the results I've got. It's essentially proof. The more proof you have, the easier it is to land clients. And I will just completely die on this hill, man. Like if someone is struggling to land clients as a ghostwriter or in any industry, if they just did whatever they could do, like work for free, write for themselves, and stacked as much proof as humanly possible, like, oh my God, it'll just get so much easier to land clients. And I'll even share like a new example of this. So I'm wanting to explore more lead acquisition channels to get customers. so that I'm less reliant on one. Maybe that's still my fear of losing everything that has
Mhm.
never gone away.
Yeah,
So,
I feel
you
you.
know, yeah, yeah, exactly, right? We want safety and security. So I cracked like inbound lead gen to some degree. You know, there's referrals. And now I'm like, can I do cold outreach? Like cold email? Could I figure out cold email? Um, and when I was learning cold email, I thought, man, for a beginner, this would be kind of hard because they don't have any proof. So they're cold emailing people like, hey, I'm Taylin. I want to help you grow on LinkedIn. Like, are you interested? You know, like that's kind of the best you could do. So what you'd have to do is throw a guarantee on there. Like, I guarantee it. But as a beginner, I'm sure you'd be scared shitless to guarantee it. I know I would. But because we have all this proof, I just started cold email, was like, hey, we can help you on LinkedIn, get 30K of new business guaranteed in 90 days. Here's like how we've helped other people. We've made like $4 million for clients. We've got like 2 billion impressions total. We just made a client like $100,000 off of a single sale on LinkedIn, interested. And we launched our cold email campaign and like instantly started getting like qualified leads that I was like, whoa, like these people are like great leads. And I was looking at like other people learning cold email that were struggling and they just didn't have any proof. And
Mhm.
it really showed me that like if you're in the beginning of your business journey, like I don't even think you should try to get money in the beginning. You should try to stack as much proof as humanly possible. And then you'll be able to raise your prices and then the money will come much more naturally. But most beginners are trying to get money before they have proof. And I think that's the problem.
Absolutely. And I think this goes for any offer. If you sell a course, if you sell a coaching program, if you offer a membership, a community, proof is everything, right? It's one thing for you to say how amazing your service is. It's a completely another thing if someone else and other people are saying, hey, this guy or girl helped me get results, right? It's like it does the selling for you, but you have to collect that proof first. And I do think that what you've done with working for free for that client and getting proof in that sense and proof for yourself with your own account, that's the foundation of it. And I think so many might not be like even open to the idea of working for free and maybe are first focused on, okay, how can I make my first few $100? But
Mm-hmm.
actually opening yourself up to doing something like that could have a far higher ROI in the future.
100%, man. Like I believe really strongly about this one. Like I get a little fired up actually. The people that are like, I don't want to work for free. And other people too that just tell people like, hey, you shouldn't work for free. You should always charge what you're worth. You need to value yourself. Like I see this all the time, even on Substack. People are just so averse to working for free. And to like really drive this point home, I had a conversation a little while ago, kind of like this. It was like a podcast style. And I brought up working for free, and the other host was kind of like disgusted by it. They were like, oh, why would you tell people to work for free? And I'm like, it's because of people like you that people think they don't need to do it. And that's the problem. Like, it's like if you just play it out, it's like, okay, you could not work for free, think that you're worth more than you are, and try to charge like 3K per month to quit your job per client, right? And you try to get clients for like 6, 7 months and you can't land anyone. Like there's very few people who will take that bet. So now you have like 6, 7 months where you've got no experience or very little, no proof, no testimonials, or you could have just started working for free from the get go, done it for like 3 to 4 months, maybe even less, depending on how quickly you can get results. And then with all your proof, be like, okay, now I'm going to charge 3K per month because I have proof. And then you'll jump to charge like to it quicker. Like it's literally the faster route, but people still don't want to do it. And it drives me absolutely nuts. It's like, no, like you do not need money in the beginning. You need to prove to yourself that the vehicle is possible and that you can do it. And you need to get proof. Like the
Mhm.
first client does not pay your bills. They pay off your doubts and they get you proof. Like that's
Mhm.
it.
Yeah. And I mean, if you look at it from a perspective like, okay, I'm all for charging what you're worth and charging based on the value you deliver. But if the customer, the client cannot see that value yet, there's no proof, there's nothing they can hold on to, they will not
Yeah.
pay you what you're worth because they cannot see your worth yet, right? So you need to
Yeah.
have some vehicle to show your worth that is either your own results on your own accounts, for example, your own following, your own content, or what you've done for other people. And if that requires working for free, then it's an investment in yourself in that sense.
Dude, I just couldn't agree more. Like to tell you the story on this, to revisit my first client, right? like I got my first client 6 months after I started writing online. It wasn't even necessarily 6 months after I found ghostwriting. It's probably like 3 months after I found ghostwriting. But again, I worked for free every day for months. And it was hard. Like, I'm not going to say it was easy. Like, this guy lived in Europe. I'm in Western Canada. He would call me in the middle of the night and wake me up at 2 or 3 in the morning and ask me, like, hey, I need writing in the next like 1 to 2 hours. And I would get up in the middle of the night and I would write it. And then I would go back to bed for an hour or two. And then I would go to my day job. I did that for months. It was rough. Like, it doesn't need to be that bad. Like, I don't recommend people do that, but like, that's how hungry I was. And I did that for months. And then I launched my offer, charged 3K per month. I landed 3 clients in the first 30 days. Like, I jumped to 10K per month of income, that 6-figure number that most people want. Like, the amount of times I hear people say on a call, like in our ghostwriting coaching program, like, I just want to make 6 figures. I just want to make 10K. It's like, okay, work for free until you're undeniable and then charge 3K and then you'll be at 10K very quickly. Like, that's what I did. And then I got to 20K and then I got to 40. And people will again ask me like, oh, how do you get to 20? How do you get to 40? I'm like, dude, you just need more proof. Like, I know it doesn't seem like it, but you just got to work for free. You got to pay your dues. You got to get as much proof as possible. And then you can do it. Like, it's not rocket science. But I think there's that whole cultural thing that people are so averse to it. It's what holds them back from really getting to the first steps and getting to like the decent income that could really replace their income. Like, it's a huge mental hurdle for a lot of people.
Now, Taylin, you write a lot about the importance of leverage, right? What types of leverage have you built in your business, and do you see has the biggest impact for your business?
Yeah, I love this question. I'll first, like, just for anyone who doesn't know about leverage, I'll quickly say what my perspective is on that is leverage work is essentially where you can put in effort, like time, money, energy, but you'll get a lot more out than what you put in. So when I was a college teacher, I had no leverage. It was just time for money. I show up, I work 8 hours, I get 8 hours of pay. So I have to be there. There's no leverage there. Where as a ghostwriter, I could show up and I could put together like a lead magnet, or I could put together like a sales sequence that continues to make me money even like after I've made it. I no longer have to show up. So that's why I love leverage. And a huge cornerstone of my work philosophy is that, like, do not do non-leverage work, or do not be working in the direction that doesn't lead to leverage work. Because sometimes in the beginning, you have to do stuff, you have to pay your dues. But you want to be always making sure your trajectory is towards leveraged work. Like, this is completely non-negotiable, in my opinion. Otherwise, you'll never get paid like big money. You'll never get paid more than like the average person, right? So the 3 types of leverage are capital, code, and cooperation. So capital being money, code being either media or like coding software, but media meaning like social posts and things like that. Cooperation being people. As a ghostwriter, you could definitely say that we use AI quite a bit. So I would call that code. We definitely deploy cooperation and capital as well, just with team. Like, you kind of need capital to get cooperation in a lot of cases. So that would be where most of my leverage is I have a team that does most of the writing, the operations management. Like, all I really do for the agency is sales and marketing and system building. And you could say system building is also a form of leverage, because once I build that system once and I get it working efficiently, I usually don't have to tweak it again for quite a while, unless there's some changes to the business or we hit a limit of scale that requires new systems. So that's how I approach it. And I wish more people would actually understand this about ghostwriting, but it's a little more intermediate, so it's harder for me to talk about. But people think like, oh, if I go online, I want to make money as a writer, like I need to sell courses, I need to like be a coach or something. I'm like, you can be a ghostwriter. And they're like, well, it's not like leverage. It's not courses, you know? Like, if I sell courses, then I don't have to trade time for money. I'm like, I don't either. You know, people just don't think about it. It's like, and I get it. You'd probably rather just create a course and then have it set and just like market it. But it just depends on like where you fit into the industry. And for me, like, ghostwriting it's just where I found my place. It's where I had the competitive advantage, seemed to be making the most money. So it's where I've continued to double down on over the years. And it's cool to have that like leveraged business where I can just keep landing clients and I don't have to actually work in the business. I wish more people understood that you could do that as a ghostwriter with the right skills.
Yeah, this whole idea of leverage is incredibly powerful, and I've always designed my own businesses with leverage in mind. Like that's the first thing I would do. This whole, especially if you have an online business, this is the greatest opportunity to build a high leverage business from the comfort of your own home, right? We're living in an era that is unique, and I think that's really something to not take for granted, to take advantage of in that sense. But the fact that you can write online, attract an audience, that's a form of leverage, right? Because now you can speak, you can post something that, let's say, 10,000, 50,000, hundreds of thousands of people will get to see, right? That's a high form of leverage. It's media, as you said. Then getting those people on an email list, that's a high form of leverage. I've always been a big fan of creating digital products, something you can create once, but you can sell it forever on autopilot. And if you combine those things, right, you combine the audience, the email list, the digital products, and then some sort of like an email automation, a little system there. Now you've got a pretty automated, high leverage business where if you produce content, it will attract an audience who will go to your email list, who will go through that email sequence and potentially buy one of your offers, either in this moment or in the future. And that's always been the thing that excited me personally the most in an online business, right? Because now it's like, oh, I'm building a system that allows me to live more of a life of freedom. And it really sounds like from how you've built your ghostwriting agency, you've built it with that in mind as well. Like, how can you free up, in that sense, your time and energy as most as possible?
100%, man. I love that you're really doing this too, because you're right. Like the power of internet businesses is that they are usually like high leverage if built correctly. And yeah, like I'm not like, I wouldn't say I identify as someone who's like a business guy per se. Like I don't mind business. I learn business to the extent that it helps me get what I want. You know, what is Naval's like quote that went viral on Twitter a little while ago? It's like your degree of intelligence is like your ability to get what you want in life,
Yeah.
or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not like obsessed with business by any means. I just want to have more time to create things that I genuinely want to create. Like I would say at heart, like I'm a creative person who just wants to build things. And I personally don't want monetary outcomes to be tied to the things that I build. Like I think that's the difference between art and business is, okay, we're going to build this to serve these people to the outcome of making money, where art is created for its own sake. And I would love if there's a day where I can focus most of my time, like 80%, on just building art that I genuinely want to build because I want to see it in the world. And that could be a course. Like I've wanted to put together a course on my work-life philosophy just for fun, like for my own kind of like thinking it through and writing it out and editing those thoughts. I think it would be fun to learn to draw and to create short stories and create a YouTube channel where it's just like pictures with like compelling short stories that I think are great narratives that could inspire people. But in order for me to do that so purely, I don't want to have money tied to it. I don't want to be thinking like, how do I make sure that I make money from this? And there's nothing wrong with making money from it. It's just I prefer to create without that monetary thing there, right? And the way to do this in my mind is you either build stuff that you can sell. I would say that's more like the Danco kind of route, right? Is learn to monetize your interests. And I think that's a great path for a lot of people. And the path that I'm taking is I'm going to build high leverage businesses that run without me, make me the money I want for my ideal lifestyle, where I barely have to work in them. And then I'm just going to create whatever I want to create and drive traffic to it and just use the marketing skills I have to create awareness for it and try to make it as like successful as possible with no tie to money. And that's just the path that feels like most aligned to me. And that's why I'm so all in on leverage and the things that it can do is, for me, it's art. For others, it's time with family. For other people, it's travel. This whole idea that, you can build an online business where you only work 4 hours a week, like that, to me, that's not possible in the first year, maybe not even the second year, but 5 years down the road, maybe even a little bit sooner, with the right skill acquisition, execution, positioning, you can build a high leverage business that really does set you mostly free. I wish more people like truly understood the first principles of what that looks like, which is what we're talking about.
Let's talk a bit about writing platforms. You have your audience on X is over 120,000 people, I believe, and now also you're active on Substack. That's also where we initially connected. What do you think that as of this moment in the social media landscape, what are the best platforms for online writers?
Yeah, I'll say right now on X, I'm around like 97K, but it probably, if you lump it together with the other socials, it's above 120. Um, the best opportunities right now for writers, LinkedIn's really good for ghostwriting because it has so much of the clientele there already. Like being a professional platform, founders are on there, coaches, pretty untapped in my opinion. So LinkedIn is a huge one. Instagram's obviously another really big one. For script writing, like it's such a good evergreen platform. If you get into Instagram, we've recently at the agency we were joking because we started on X or Twitter, right? And Twitter has just become like a terrible platform for making money and getting clients in most niches. Like it's just not there, which is so sad because I do have like a soft spot for the platform. It's where I found my first success, right? But there's just no leads on there. It's so much harder to go viral with anything that isn't news. It fundamentally changed as a platform. It's not for us anymore. But like Instagram, where like if we would have just wrote on Instagram and built the agency there 3 years ago, that if we wouldn't even have this problem, right? Because it's just so evergreen. So I think LinkedIn and Instagram are good. And obviously script writing for YouTube, I don't think is ever going to go out of style. I think long form script writing is also great. So from a ghostwriting perspective, I would say either writing LinkedIn posts, scripting short like Instagram reels, or scripting long form YouTube. If someone wanted to write and about like an interest and just make their own money that way, I think Substack and LinkedIn are probably the two best.
Yeah, because I can imagine with LinkedIn, we are not very active on LinkedIn actually, but it's something we have been thinking about. Like, should we become more active there? And for the past year, we focused a lot on Substack and seen a lot of growth there, which was amazing. But I do think that on LinkedIn, there's so many creators that actually are like, yo, this platform is amazing. Like I'm building my entire business on LinkedIn. So I really think there's something there. Also because it is designed with professionals in mind. And for example, if you're a ghostwriter, I can imagine you do that for founders, for example, right, who don't have the time or skill set themselves to write. Okay, you can actually find them way easier on a platform like LinkedIn versus maybe X or Substack. So thinking about, okay, what business am I building? Where is my client or customers? Where are they already spending time and hanging out, and kind of reverse engineering it with that in mind? Sounds like you guys are also doing.
Dude, for sure. You nailed it. Like I did a call the other day. Is a guy much more successful than me. He's kind of like me if I actually pull off my dreams in the next 3 to 5 years. He's like exited a agency, and now he's just like writing music and creating art, and he's just like having fun sitting on the cash from his business exit, which I love. And I was like, yeah, for the agency, we're thinking about maybe also writing on Instagram and maybe getting into this and this. And he's like, nah. He's like, just write for coaches on LinkedIn. I was like, really? He's like, yes. Like not even founders, just do high ticket coaches, make them money, like more than they pay you, and just like have them for years, and be the best at it. I was like, really? You think it'll work? He's like, dude, you can get to $1 million a year of profit just with coaches on LinkedIn. Like, don't have your shiny object. You don't need to diversify what you do. You just need to be the best at what you do in that one thing. And hearing it, like you hear that all the time, but hearing it from a guy who was quite a few steps ahead of me in like the exact domain that I'm in, really had it click where I was like, yeah, actually, how many coaches are there on LinkedIn? Maybe I don't need to work with founders and coaches and write for them on Instagram. Maybe we can just do LinkedIn and get to like $1 million a year of profit. And that's really like changed my perspective on that. So I would say that to any other ghostwriter too, is just pick, whether it's founders, coaches, whoever, on one platform and just be the best at it. And you trust me, for most ghostwriters too, they just want to make like 6 figures or 200K a year, 300K a year. It's like, you can do that in 1 to 2 years of like good execution with one like small pocket niche. So that's what I would recommend.
You mentioned that a shiny object, right? I think that is such a common thing, especially for entrepreneurs. You can be excited about a new idea or new platforms, and per definition, that could lead to chasing a lot of shiny objects. But I think it's really important to let's say with a new social media platform that's up and coming. Personally, I'm not that quick to jump on that platform, to be honest. I first want to look at, okay, the platforms we are on, mostly Substack nowadays, right? Okay, we know how that works. We know how to maximize a reach there. But if we now jump on a new platform, that means, startup costs again, like learning the platform, getting started there. It still has to prove itself. But I do think that a lot of creators, they're afraid of missing out and they jump from platform to platform, but then never really, let's call it like dominating one platform, or really knowing, deeply understanding how one platform works, the nuances and the culture of that platform works, and therefore not really growing. So I think that's really important, right? That okay, shiny object syndrome, like make sure that the moves you make, the platforms you are on, is like well calculated instead of a very reactive move or just out of excitement.
I would agree with that. In the beginning, people should only be mastering one platform for sure. Like if they haven't made like 6 figures per year on one platform, like there's no reason to go omni-channel. Like it'll just split your focus. Once you're consistently growing, it's systemized, you're making good money, and there's really no more that you can put into that platform in terms of effort to get more results. Then I think you look at other platforms and use that energy there. Because I agree, it's the days of Gary Vee just saying, take one piece of content, just post it everywhere, and it's better to be everywhere. I completely disagree. The platforms are too sophisticated now. The people that are competing on them and like just one platform are just doing too good. Every platform needs content to be adapted to it. So you have to understand the nuances, like you were saying. So I really recommend people just do one platform at a time until you're like really good at it, and then you diversify to the other ones.
But Taylin, it sounds like the way you think, and the way you think things through from your business perspective, but the way you're speaking as well, it sounds like you do have this mindset of not just taking action, but also like doing it with a sense of focus and confidence. That's at least what I get the impression from the outside. What do you think is an essential belief that you have that beginning online writers could benefit from as well if they want to start making money?
It's a good question. Here's the biggest one I notice with new writers is they've really bought into, I only want to write things that I'm very, very interested in. And like I've literally heard writers say this to me. They're like, I don't give a shit about the market. Like I don't care about market demand. And I've said this in the past too, so I have to check myself here. This is like advice to my past self. I think it's a very egotistical way to look at writing online. That's basically saying, I don't care about helping anyone. I don't care about serving anyone. I'm just going to do whatever I want to do, and I want to make money doing it. And like when you say it like that, it becomes really obvious how childish that statement really is, right?
Yeah.
It's like I wish I could just write whatever I wanted to write and that I would get paid for it. That would be amazing, but it's not the reality. And like you really do got to look for the intersection of what am I interested in that other people are also interested in. And I actually categorize topics that way, where let's say something like spirituality that I'm quite fascinated in, but I don't talk about very much online. And there are segments for that, but just with the niche that I'm in, which is ghostwriting and things like that, it's been harder for me to talk about spirituality and weave it into my brand. So I just categorize that as like, okay, it's something that I like, but maybe the market that I'm talking to, it just doesn't quite align as well with it. And I need to be more nuanced or more careful of when I talk about it and how. So I just like kind of put it over here. And then there's other interests like, leverage. It's like, okay, I could talk about leverage. Like that's good. I could talk about getting clients for ghostwriting. Like that's good. And I just try to find the intersection points and make most of my content around that, and then experiment a little bit with the other stuff that I'm like, hey, maybe if I try wording it like this, or I introduce people to the idea like this, then they'll be more like open to reading it. It'll resonate with them more. This gets into like demand capture versus demand gen content ideas, but it's a little beyond the scope of your question. So I would just say, like in the beginning, especially, like you have to figure out where is there market demand where I'm also interested in something as a beginner. And I wish more beginners would just realize that that's not selling out. That's not being inauthentic. That's just being like realistic. Like, like it just is the way to do it is just figure out where's their demand, where can I actually help people? And that's the mindset shift that worked for me. That's the true shift is when I write content, if I think to myself, oh, I really want to write about my interests, how do I serve like me and my interests? The content doesn't do as well. Like it's made too much for me. When I instead think, okay, how do I help the person who is struggling to leave their job, wants a more creative and fulfilling life, and is really looking for a way to make this work without wasting their money on a coach that doesn't serve them? The content just comes out completely different when I'm writing that way and I'm thinking with that person in mind. So that would be my recommendation to other people is like figure out who you can help and like try to actually genuinely help them from your perspective instead of thinking you need to write for yourself from your own perspective like an egotistical child.
I love that advice, man. It's actually kind of funny because right above my laptop, I have a list with names of like people from our audience and clients who work with us, and I have it's like a list of about 10 people. And I do that specifically so that whenever I'm creating content, I'm looking at their names and I'm like, would they understand this? Would they resonate with it? Is this a problem they're facing, a solution they're looking for, rather than like keeping it all in my own brain and taking too much my own perspective, like you said, right? No, I'm looking at that list of real people and I'm like, is this for them? Because they're our ideal client. It to me, that's very helpful, actually.
Nice. Dude, it works. It sounds like you're doing the right thing. For me, it's writing to me as a college teacher. So it's very similar where you got to have that one person that you're writing to. Like, would they understand this? I love that question that you just said. Would they understand this? Without prior knowledge and without what I know, could I write this in a way that would resonate with them? I think that's great.
So you talked about writing to your past self. Last question in this question I asked to everyone on the podcast. If you actually could go back in time to your younger entrepreneurial self, just starting out, what are 3 lessons or insights you would share?
One of them for me would be to be maybe a little bit more confident quicker. Like I was very, very, very nervous in the beginning as an entrepreneur, right? Like very timid, didn't really believe that I was an entrepreneur. I had like an identity problem there. I didn't identify as an entrepreneur. So I would say that. The second one would be, this is probably the biggest one, is to capitalize on the opportunities while they're there. Because all opportunities have a window of opportunity. For example, like back when ghostwriting was easier, it was, okay, like take as many clients as possible, which I did. But it used to be really easy to grow on Twitter, like really, really easy. And I just never wrote Twitter threads back then because I was so preoccupied with growing my agency and writing for clients. But with like, I had the time. I could have wrote a thread a day and I would probably have got to like 300, 400, 500,000 followers on Twitter if I would have done a thread a day for those 2 years. Like it was just so stupid not to do it. LinkedIn, same thing. It was super easy to grow. Like some of my top performing LinkedIn content is still the stuff I posted when I had less than 2,000 followers. Crazy. It was just so easy to grow back then. And I was like, I'm kind of busy with the agency. I'm not going to focus on LinkedIn. Like who cares? And then everyone else grew to like hundreds of thousands, even millions of followers. And I didn't start really taking it seriously until it was starting to get harder to grow already. And it's like, man, window of opportunity. I missed it again. Like I've missed so many windows of opportunity. Like even Instagram, there's a time Dakota grew to like 250,000 Instagram followers in a few months because of an algo change. And he's like, you should do Instagram. I'm like, no, I'm too busy. Stupid. Like, it's like, it's literally that easy to grow. And I was too busy to capitalize on that. Like how ridiculous was I? So I would like, this one is so big that I would almost just count this one for the other 3 or the other 2 and wrap them all in one is, like stuff doesn't work forever. Like it doesn't. Like when you find something that works, you need to go so all in on it and you need to like capitalize on it and get that first mover advantage. Because once it gets hard, the people who did capitalize on it are the ones who continue to win. Everyone else struggles. And I've really felt the pain of that being behind other people who are smarter than me in that regard. And now I'm just looking constantly, like very hyper vigilant, like where's the next opportunity? Where's the next arbitrage? Because once it's there, like I'm popping in, boom, and I'm going to capitalize on it until it doesn't work and then move on to the next one. That I think that one is so big. I would recommend that for the other two as well.
Yeah, man, that's great advice. Absolutely. And I I'm instantly thinking of my days on Medium. Like I was writing on Medium from 2018 until 2023, I would say. And those early days on Medium, it was like a gold mine, right? You could grow very fast, go viral, have articles that reach hundreds of thousands of people. And I was growing there. I was having fun. But then I was like, you know what? Let me also focus on these other aspects of my business and a bit of the other platform there instead of just like now. I'm like, okay, you should have gone even more all in on Medium, just right there like a madman and worry about the other stuff later because it was a window of opportunity. I think that's great advice, Taylin. Opportunities don't last forever. And if they are there, uh, yeah, go all in on it and don't get distracted. Taylin, where should people go if they want to learn more about what you do?
Yeah, Substack is a good platform. Taylin John Simmonds on Substack. LinkedIn's another one that I'm focusing on a lot. You can check me out on X, but I wouldn't say X is my primary platform anymore. It's just me writing, condensed thoughts and just not really caring what happens over there. So Substack and LinkedIn at Taylin John Simmonds would be the best spot.
Perfect. We'll link to that in the show notes so people can check it out. Thanks so much for sharing your insights here with us today, Taylin. It was incredibly valuable.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. This was super fun.